Welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom, everyone. As you know, today is Thursday. Man, where has 2017 gone? Thanksgiving is sweeping up on all of us. So what Mel and I are going to talk to you guys about today is stepping into 2018 strong, and then I'm going to talk to you about my writing career and also what we're trying to do to get me a new computer, believe it or not. And then I'm actually going to read my book on this podcast, or try to read my book. So without further ado, I'm going to let Mel take it away.
Well, happy Thursday, everybody. Hello, Win. How are you? It is a nice, wintry, rainy day here out in the Sacramento area. And yes, Thanksgiving is upon us, and it's a great time to reflect. You know, I look at the entire year. It's been a terrific year overall. Lots of different life events, professional events, lots of emotions, you know, just the ebbs and flows of life. I'm grateful to be living in the life that I'm in, as I'm sure you are too, Win. And I'm excited to talk about today's episode because it's never too late to start planting the seeds for the upcoming year in 2018. You know, personally and professionally, we all have things that we want to achieve. And one of the things I talked about yesterday on one of my Facebook Live posts is that, you know, you got to take action with what you do, right? You can't just wish. You got to take action. So where are we at, Win? How has your year been? What are the highlights of your year so far?
Well, my highlights of my year are I went back to journalism school, as you all know, and I just got an email today saying that I'm actually, for one of my classes next semester, I'm actually taking a radio/podcasting class as part of my fashion journalism degree. Now, granted, this may confuse people because of my CP. I kind of have to work with my CP. So what my school is allowing me to do is they're allowing me to take some classes in the communications track instead of all classes in the fashion journalism track, even though I have to take some classes in the fashion journalism class.
You know, you had some pretty awesome things and awesome decisions that you made this year that we have discussed. So I'm pretty excited about your journey ahead. I did quite a few things myself between a couple of speaking engagements in New York. I finished writing a chapter in a multi-collaboration called Breaking Barriers, multi-author collaboration with a book detailing stories of victory, struggle, and inspiration. And that's going to be released, I believe, sometime, hopefully before the end of this month. And I'm actually going to be speaking about it on a radio show this Friday. So pretty fun year. You know, lots of great stuff. A couple of dips here and there, but you know, it can't always be positive. You need challenges in your life to grow as well. You know, so
yes, you do.
So right. So what about the upcoming year? I mean, what kind of fun things and exciting things do you have on the horizon?
Well, as I said, I am getting closer and closer to my graduation date, which I can't believe. And I thought about, of course I'll be lugging my books out with me, not by my choice, not by anyone else's choice, because I figure if we do have a small get-together or small book signing, why not support my fans on the West Coast, including email, and give them not only me in person, but give them a copy of my book. And so that leads us to our next segue, and the next segue is you guys get a fairly special offer from me. Mel knows this, but you guys don't. I am trying to get a new computer, and I am trying to raise the funds for a brand new Macintosh. And so what Mel and I have decided to do is we're actually going to give you guys, those of you who decide to donate, and I'll give you my PayPal's email address at the end, and those of you who decide to donate get a signed copy of my book or get to come on a podcast episode with me and discuss a topic of your choice. And I don't care what that topic is. I mean, I'll do research. I'll do what I have to support you guys. And so that's going to be really fun, meeting some of my fan base. And I know you guys love book publishing for some weird reason. And I would like to stay away from that. But if that's something you want to discuss live on the podcast, go ahead.
You know, it's really a fun thing that we're going to do here. We're going to do a podcast and bookathon for December. So the details of this. For a donation of $25, you will get a personally signed copy of Wynn's new book, along with some personal captions in it. And you know, Wynn, it might even be worth throwing in maybe a phone call, a direct phone call to you, so that you know you can kind of get to know the person who's receiving the book, and you can write them some words of wisdom based on your conversation.
I would be happy to do that.
Wouldn't that be great? That'd be fun, right?
I would be happy to.
Absolutely.
Go in a direct phone call.
The second part is going to be. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, and then I'll jump in.
Okay.
Go ahead, and then
what
I'll
I was
jump
going to say
in.
is, okay, on the podcast side of it, we are doing a limited space reservation only of 10 spots, 10 podcasts, where if you would like to come on a podcast and be a speaker on a podcast for 45 to 60 minutes long, you will not only be receiving that spot plus an autographed signed copy with Wynn and a private conversation with her prior to the podcast, so that there's a warm introduction along with it, and that's only $100, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
So, but we can only do 10 of them. We're going to do 2 podcasts a month of that, so we can get it done within about 5 or 6 weeks. But we invite you to do that, and you know, whatever topic you guys want to talk about, we will deep dive it, and we'd love to get to know you. So again, for $100, just a donation of $100, you will get an autographed signed copy of Wynn's new book. You will also have a private deep dive conversation with her prior to a podcast, and you'll also be on a podcast with us or with her, and you'll be able to speak about and deep dive whatever topic you want. How does that sound, Wynn?
That sounds wonderful to me. And what I was going to say is these, and the reason why I'm bringing this person up, I'll explain why in a minute, but when I go to these book signings with big name people like Hunter S. Thompson or someone to that effect, these people seem to do candid responses, and they ask your name, and then they put your name in a book, and that's it. And what I'm trying to do is make it more personal to you guys.
Right. Absolutely.
And
absolutely. That's why that initial warm introduction phone call and deep dive is so important. You know, and I'm sure that you have fans that would love to engage with you that way and talk and just kind of get to know you. And it'd be a great way to discuss, future podcasts with you and just to share some ideas and goals and stuff like that for the upcoming year.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always looking for feedback from you guys how to make this podcast again better. And the reason why I mentioned Hunter Thompson, who wrote for the Rolling Stones, is because not only did I have the privilege to meet Hunter Thompson twice, I think, yeah. And my dad actually had the privilege to live with Hunter at his house. So for me, watching this ultra famous journalist go about his daily routine of writing, as interesting as it was, I was on the outside looking in, but I remember when I go to these public book signings, these ultra famous people like Hunter S. Thompson would just literally sign your name and literally sign a candid response. And sometimes the candid response is great, but other times it's not so great. It's not so great. And right now I'm in the process of putting my books in, well, not only in the Library of Congress, but in local independent bookstores as well. And my book will be in Barnes & Noble. We're in the process of setting that up. So I want to make this as special as I can for you guys.
That's fantastic. That's pretty awesome. I've seen book signings before, and I've gone to a couple, and I know a few authors, and the ones that I've done that I've been around took the time to with as little time as you can, really get to know somebody and talk to them. I get the whole speed thing. I understand that there's not a whole lot of time sometimes for a lot of authors, but I think in this case, having that warm introduction phone call and maybe 15, 20 minutes or so just to kind of catch up with a fan who may have something important that they want to share with you, and where you can give and exchange, insight to each other on whatever topic they want to discuss, could be very valuable. That's a great memory to have,
Yeah, that's a great memory to
Absolutely.
have. And me just having that interaction twice with Hunter S. Thompson, even though it was a kind of a weird interaction,
Right.
he made me, and this was when I was 8 years old, mind you, he made me feel as if he was only paying attention to me. And the line that he said, there was fake rats at the house. And so to tease an 8-year-old, which I'm not very teasable, I used to be, but to tease an 8-year-old, he said, be careful of the rats. And I just looked at him like, what are you trying to say to an 8-year-old? And of course, my dad was standing there, and I just looked at him and rolled my eyes. And of course, he got the biggest kick out of that because he thought he was trying to tease an 8-year-old, I guess. And there was plastic rats on the ground. And yes, peacocks do walk through his house. I've seen pictures after he died of peacocks strutting through the house. And peacocks are the scariest things on the planet. If you guys ever have seen a peacock, you know what I'm talking about. But having that personal interaction with him, and when he knew who my dad was, he didn't necessarily know who I was, but having that personal interaction with him really stuck out with me as an 8-year-old. So that's what I'm trying to do with you guys. In a sense, I'm trying to make it as personal as I can.
And it makes a big difference. It really does. Think about it the other day when we had Susie Longweddle. She just happened to be around. And, all I wanted to do, I had asked you if it was okay for for Susie to log in with us and just to listen, because I usually talk with my headset on, so, you can hear me, but they wouldn't be able to hear you. Nobody would. And you were kind enough to let her kind of chime in and even talk, and it was great. It was a great podcast.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah,
she's a very, very, educated person. She was a fellow school teacher, right? What was the chances of that happening, right?
Yeah,
so,
what was the chances of that happening? No.
Totally. So, take it a step further with the podcast opportunity, guys, for all of those you listening. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to kind of engage and really talk about the things that are important to you, and we'll give you our best, so I would highly recommend, and I invite you guys to take advantage of that. There's only 10 spots open, so for $100, you're going to get a lot of value out of it. You're going to get a personalized signed book. You're going to get a warm introduction phone call and deep dive, and you're going to be able to express yourself and voice your voice, if you will, on a national podcast with topics that are important to you. So that in of itself is amazing. So I can't wait for us to do that.
That in and of itself is amazing. And
absolutely.
You guys know I'm a book publisher, and you guys know I'll talk about book publishing all day long, but at the same time, book publishing, to those who don't want to talk about it, that's the boringest thing on the planet. And, boringness isn't a word, but before I started doing my own book publishing, I didn't think book publishing was the most fascinating subject either. Now that I'm in the thick of it, I understand. But having that one-on-one combo, and it doesn't need to be disabilities related. You guys don't think I just want to sit here and chatter your ear off about disabilities either. We could talk about sexual interactions in the workplace. We can talk about the news. We can talk about anything you guys want.
Absolutely. And aside from that, it's a lot of fun. It really is.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great time, so.
It is
anyway,
a lot of fun. Now,
you had mentioned reading a book, right?
I have my book pulled up, which is supposedly coming out this weekend. Supposedly, I just got a date from my editor saying that she'll get the full manuscript back to me, and my editor happens to listen to this podcast. So Mary, here's to you for editing all my chaos, because you don't need to be editing all my chaos, but yet you do. And before I read this one chapter to you guys, I want to say to those of you who are thinking about publishing a book, I want to say invest in a good editor. I don't care about cover artwork. I don't care about the marketing aspects. I'll always help you with that. But editing is the key. These books are not going to walk themselves to the New York Times bestseller list, I tell you that much. And so let me just read to you one paragraph here. Good morning, said the voice over the loudspeaker. The start of the day's announcements caused the kids to jump back into line. And as the class prepared to move into the drama class, today we would be banging on drums, on small hand drums shaped to dragonflies. This would be followed by dancing and swaying to the beat. Created by the created by the kids' joint drumming effort. This wasn't a new routine for preschoolers. That all the students did in the drum class, day after day, year after year. In truth, despite the best efforts of the teachers like Kathleen and Lisa and Kelly, the challenge of trying to, and I'm reading this off a Microsoft Word document, so when you read this, you guys, you won't have as much trouble as I am. Teach anything more complicated would too great to tackle in these small classrooms. These small classrooms. The same woman, though, could take pride in the fact that she was making a positive difference and impact in the lives of the students to help them become good citizens. And so you got a taste of my book, which is supposedly coming out this weekend at the latest Monday. You'll quickly discover who I am in this book. I didn't give that part away. That's why I only read one paragraph of it, even though I have 2 chapters of it sitting in front of me. I didn't want to give the first 2 chapters away. So that's the taste of my writing, you guys. And that's why I'm trying to get a new computer, because I'm going to be a journalist until I can't do it anymore. I'm going to be a journalist until the day I die. I mean, teaching is nice, but teaching doesn't pay the bills. And any teacher will tell you that. And if you listened to last week's episode with Susie had cancer, and that's why she had to give up her teaching career, because once the cancer bills start coming in, you can't cover the cancer bills with small paychecks. Now, granted, I'm disabled, but at the same time, I'm not using my disability to get into the classroom, but also at the same time, teachers do not get paid enough. And you guys know this. I keep teaching this. I could make more money publishing books and being a freelance journalist than I can teaching any day, and that goes across the board. So that's why I wanted to read a portion of my book to you, just to give you guys a taste of it. Now, I'm working with audiobook producer to produce the audiobook. If that doesn't work out, I will be producing my own audiobook, which should be a very interesting process. But I am hoping that working with the audiobook producer works out. And now, what would you like to say about 2018? What are some of your wishes?
Well, thank you for sharing that part of your book. And I do have a question about audiobook production. How in-depth is that? Is that a pretty complicated process? Is it expensive to do? Or, how does one get started to do that?
I use a company called ACX And ACX, you can either pay the producer a flat fee of $1,000 or varies, or you can do a 50-50 split, meaning when the book sells, they get paid, you get paid, but you have to be exclusive to do that to ACX, and you have a contract for 7 years, and they lock you into that contract, trust me. And my contract is almost up on Win, and it will stay up on ACX until the day I die. And now you can find it on Audible, you can find it on iTunes, and you can find it wherever audiobooks are sold. Now there's many ways of skinning this cat, so to speak, and I'm going to work with audio book producer who does it privately. I'm not sure whether she charges a flat fee or whether we're doing a 50-50 split, but there's ways to do it.
Okay. Because I would love to have an audiobook myself. You know, I mean, I love the written word. I think I've come to kind of appreciate it very much because it's not an easy thing to do. It's not my first primary skill. So speaking is, and I did a 90-minute presentation yesterday in my coaching group where I read an article that I wrote, and then we did a deep dive on each of the topics. And I just love the energy and the personality I put behind what I read, and I think it would be very entertaining. We've all heard, some audiobooks that are just really monotone and there's no energy behind it from the narrator, be it the author or just a hired narrator, which is really bad, But I think it would just be a lot of fun, and I'd like to be able to do that, So I was just kind of curious. So anyway, for 2018, I can tell you that I want to finish my book for sure. From a health standpoint, I want to get back to playing some tournament softball. I've done the distance running thing, and I'm not tired of it by any means, but to do certain events like half marathons and full marathons, it's just really not my thing anymore. For now, I'm not feeling that. I'll definitely do some Team Ragnar runs, some trail runs with some teammates, but from a professional and business standpoint, want to keep going with my coaching program, want to refine, my marketing and my webinar and serve at the highest level. My Fit, Love, Strong, Effective Wellness over 40 for those who want lasting results method is really strong right now, and I'm always looking for ways to improve it. And I also want to do an audiobook. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do that. So those right now are the things on my horizon, and it's just a matter of scheduling the keystone habits daily and weekly to achieve the successes and feel that, and keep moving forward with it. And moving forward on a calendar for success is not a fluid thing. It's you have to be dynamic with it. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, sometimes it's back, sometimes it's forward. But nonetheless, no matter where you're standing, you still have to be moving forward. And no matter what happens, if you fall, make sure you fall forward. If you're running forward hard and strong because it feels good that day, take advantage of it. And when you're not, and you're in the middle of strife and stress, then that's when you really need to buckle down and keep the faith and honor yourself and really invest in a healthy relationship in yourself, because that's the only thing that carries you through when those doubtful times occur. And that's just my philosophy on it. So I'm looking for a terrific year next year, using this year as a launching pad for it. And I'm looking to enjoy the process and the journey. That's really the most important thing. Not the outcome, but the process by which I do it. So that's what I have coming up in 2018.
And I'm planning on writing 20 books, finishing my national novel writing book month, and then I am planning, because I'm taking a podcasting and recording class and actually getting credit for it and doing homework for it, I think now is the time for me also to record one of my audiobooks, because you guys keep hearing my audiobooks in other people's voices, which I don't think is fair. I can get an audio producer to do it, and this is what I'm going to do with this book. But eventually I'm going to record my own audiobooks, because eventually I am going to be phasing my teaching job out. Not now, but I will, because I want to focus on my true passion and my true calling, which is podcasting and journalism and freelance journalism and writing. I mean, my dad keeps teasing me. I was trained by the world famous journalist Hunter S. Thompson, and I think his stories and my dad's telling me his stories really had something to do with it. Another thing that you guys don't know about is I was lucky enough to go to Washington, D.C., and one of the things we did was actually go to National Public Radio and see a story break and see how they recorded the story for National Public Radio. And at the time I was in 8th grade, and that has always stuck with me. And so I have always, since I was young, have turned around and asked adults how they were and made conversations with adults. And so journalism is my true calling. Teaching, not so much. Even though I love it, it's too tough. It's getting tougher and tougher.
Yeah, it's a means to an end, teaching. It pays the bills, but your true calling should match your passion. If your true calling isn't passionate within you, it's not a true calling. I mean, that's just my thought on it, because it should be, your true calling should be so passionate within you that it has its own internal drive. You don't have to think about it, because the second you have to think, it's over, right? I mean, it's leading with your heart and making sure that you have that fire in your belly, so to speak, to constantly keep going and doing it and refining it, no matter how easy or how hard it gets. No matter how hard it gets and how tough it is, and not giving up when the dream gets hard, is really what it's all about. That's when you're really tested. That's when your mettle is tested, right? It's easy to just be trucking along, feeling great when the days are good. But when you're having a hard time and you're having tough moments of doubt and, insecurity or, obstacles in your way, whether they be, mental obstacles where you're getting in your own way, or, external factors in your way from other places, people, or things, it's just a moment in time, right? It's just such a small moment in your journey, and you have to just keep that in mind. Don't get caught up in what you're not getting and start thinking in a lack mentality. It's so easy to do. If you don't love it, then it's not a calling. If you don't feel inspired with your heart to step outside of yourself for something bigger and embrace that, there's no way you're going to achieve. There just isn't. That's just my personal thought on it. I'm at a point in my life now where I don't waste my time on anything unless I feel an internal drive with it. I've given too much of myself for other things and never gotten anything out of it. So, it's very important to recognize who you are and what you're willing to do, and understand your capability. And if it doesn't emotionally strike you inside, you're not going to last very long, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, if it doesn't emotionally strike you inside, it's not going to last very long. And I know in my heart that I could easily get a job at the Academy of Arts teaching online, thank you very much, because a lot of my professors have either graduated from the Academy of Arts or working for these top quality magazines such as Vogue. I mean, one of my professors who I'm actually bringing on the podcast, Saturday, December 19th, Amy Wicks, she's an editor at one of these top magazines in San Francisco, and yet she still teaches as a professor at the Academy of Arts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask her point blank, for all those new journalism students like myself, or all those new communication students like my stepsister, how do we get a job in this competitive field? Because this degree I'm going into and this job field I'm going into now is more competitive than teaching.
Right. Absolutely. And that's because it's more competitive than teaching. You really have to absolutely love what you do. Right. And the thing about competing, Win, is true champions compete against themselves. They don't compete against others. You know, it's okay to admire. It's one thing you should admire people that may be your complementary opposite, maybe your competition, so to speak. But it's far more important to respect them and somewhat admire them and appreciate what they do, because they're kind of doing the same thing. They're doing exactly the same thing you're doing. They're just delivering it in a different way. But that should drive you to not try to beat them. It should drive you to become better for yourself. It should drive you to create better habits and better products and services on your own. Because at the end of the day, you're only competing against yourself. There's no governing body out there. There are very few governing bodies out there that judge who's the best in what, right? The only judge really is yourself and your own work. You know if you're good or not. You know if you put in the time. You know that if you're worth it. And that should resonate with you, and by simply leading with your heart. If you're relying on competition with somebody else to drive you, you're in a world of hurt already, because you'll never be passionate about what you do. It's coming from a place of envy, jealousy, competition, comparison. Those are really draining things on your energy. They really, really are. You're stepping outside of your true voice when you do that. You don't want to do that. You always want to compete with yourself and make yourself better. And at the end of any particular day, you just kind of go, okay, I did my best. Some days are going to be great. Some days are not going to be so great, but I'll do better tomorrow. And giving yourself that freedom really allows you to bring the best out of yourself. If you're competing against X person and you're constantly trying to outdo them, you're chasing a ghost that doesn't exist. That's bad. That's just bad energy you're putting towards yourself. Because I can guarantee you the person you're competing against is not generally competing against you. They could probably care less. So you're really killing and eroding your own spirit, right?
Yeah.
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 So anyway,
I think 2018 is going to be a great year with the book publishing and with Fit Love Strong now. And I am hoping to see that Fit Love Strong goes completely online, so that you don't necessarily have to be in the brick and mortar space, because I know the brick and mortar space, I have learned over the years that the brick and mortar space is hard for anyone, especially personal trainers, because right now I'm going, this is a public knowledge situation that we are all going through. We were members of the Aspen Club, and Bridging Bionic was using the Aspen Club's space. Well, the Aspen Club decided to do a huge remodel. They decided to close. Now they're going into foreclosure, thank you very much, and they are supposed to be open in spring of 2019. So everyone lost their jobs, those who were personal trainers and spa attendants, and everyone lost their jobs, even though the CEO goes all the time finding new jobs, and he let go of a non-profit because we needed to keep going. The Bridging Bionics Foundation needed to keep going. So I know that brick and mortar is tough on everyone, and online is easier. So I hope that Fit, Love, Strong now could go into the online space and be fierce in the online space as much as you were in the brick and mortar space.
Right. No, thank you for that. I've transitioned, as of October 1st. I've flip-flopped my time spent away from the online space. Prior to October 1st, I was 75% in person in a gym in front of a client live, and then I switched it around to where now I'm 25% if doing that. As a matter of fact, I have some clients that I work out with as training partners, just so I can still have that human interaction. I can't live in front of a laptop 100% of the time. I'll just go nuts.
No, I
can't
live in
I need the human
either.
interaction. Right. So
I need the human interaction.
Yeah.
I also need the interaction of the exoskeleton. And,
right. You got to get your body moving.
The reason why I bring that up is the exoskeleton is a Wonder Woman show, Amanda Bucktail, and she needs all the help you can give her, whether you're in Aspen, thank you very much, to volunteer with me, and I'll send you, or I'll set you guys up, or whether you're in Denver and want to volunteer. We have interns come up from the medical department at CU to intern with us. I know that. And then, but what you guys can do listening across the U.S., including on Spotify, is just donate to her. And every time I do an interview, I put her information in the show notes. So you can either donate to me or to me to get a new computer, or donate to her. Either way,
perfect.
It can help me, because a exoskeleton isn't cheap. And for those of you who have seen videos of me walking, you guys seem to enjoy it. And so in order to keep myself in the exo, really, we need to help Amanda out here.
Right. Absolutely, we should. So, for sure, a worthy cause. Absolutely.
A worthy cause.
So, anyway. Yep. All right. Well, there.
Now, any words to close out this episode?
Absolutely. Guys, absolutely nothing happens until you schedule it and take action. You can use the law of attraction all you want and bliss out and wish for all these things, but if you are not forward moving in your actions and intentions that match that, the likelihood of you succeeding is pretty slim. Envision it, plan it, schedule it, turn it into a reality, and keep moving forward while you're asking the universe for what you want. That's really, really the key. You can't just sit back and say, hey, I want to make $1 million, or hey, I want to be successful. Well, if you don't have an internal drive to do that, I'm sorry, but the universe is not going to grant you that wish. You have to be an asset of energy, because the universe is really a source of energy, and you are a massive source of energy. So you need to decide if you're going to be an asset or liability. Schedule it, take action, feel success every day to build upon, and keep moving forward. That is an important message for the day.
Yeah, and I definitely agree 100%. And let's make this 2018 successful as we can. And I'll be dropping episodes on Tuesday, and so you guys can listen to it on Thanksgiving. And just listen to it if you need a break from the Thanksgiving stress. which you probably don't, but sometimes you do. So I'll be dropping episodes on Tuesday and possibly Thursday if everything works out in my favor. If I can get it together, I will definitely drop on Thursday, but definitely on Tuesday.
Sounds good.
Thanks, you guys.
Take care, everybody.